In this last video, we'll walk through how to do the style analysis. Style analysis is a pretty interesting approach to assessing what risk and what exposures you have in an investment portfolio. So if you go to the Excel file at the bottom, you'll see it says style analysis next to historical VaR. So if you click on that, you'll see that it's set up for the Vanguard Balance Index Fund, VBINX. You need to do the exact same thing I did here, except for you need to find another mutual fund. You can go to Vanguard.com, USA.com, Fidelity.com, any of the major mutual fund stores, and you're looking for a mutual fund that includes several of these asset classes. And the way you find that is you look for the word, as we have here, the word balanced. It could be an asset allocation fund, but they usually have those type of words in it, so you can tell that there's more than one asset class in it. And then we're going to go back to June 1996 using monthly data, so it has to be a mutual fund that's been around for that long. I'm going to do this with the fund I have set up here, the VBINX, and so what we need are these adjusted closing prices for this mutual fund or whatever mutual fund you select. So we'll go to Yahoo Finance. If you go to the internet, Yahoo Finance, and on the quote lookup, you type in the ticker of the fund that you had, VBINX, the Vanguard Balance Index Investment Fund, and you click on that and it will bring up the fund information. And then over on the left you'll see that it says historical prices. So we'll click on historical prices. And it brings it up on a daily basis, but we want it on a monthly basis, so click on the monthly and click get prices. You can see here they tell you that it goes back to 92, so you can use this to help you make sure you have enough time periods. Since we need to go back to June 96, we have enough periods of time here. So we'll go down at the bottom of this, so just page down at the very bottom of the table, there's a place you can click to download it into Excel. You click on that, and then it will open it in Excel. And then you will have all your monthly prices. So here it is. I'm going to expand it out so I can see it. Now it has August. I'm doing this as of August 4th, so August really doesn't apply. So we'll ignore August. But what we're going to be using is the adjusted close. I'll talk in class while we use the adjusted close. But mainly what we're doing with the adjusted close is making sure that we adjust correctly for any dividends that the mutual fund pays. Otherwise, we'll be misstating the risk and the really the composition of the fund. Just because if the fund happens to pay a large dividend in one time, it's going to make it look like the fund price fell, but actually your total return, including the dividend, was not that. So what we're going to do is get rid of every column except for column G. So we're going to click on column B. Hold down the shift key, click on F, so we highlight all of those. We right click and delete. The next thing we need to do is click on A2, hit your shift key and the control key, hold those down. While you have those both held down, shift and control, hit your down arrow and your right arrow, so you highlight all of that. Once you have it all highlighted, click on data and then click on this little A to Z. We want to sort it from earliest to latest. And when you do that, you'll see it's all sorted from 1992 all the way to the end, but we only need it from June 96. So I'm going to go find 696 and click on that. Hit my shift key, my control key, my down arrow, right click and copy. And then I'll go back to the other spreadsheet, click on that first cell in B7 in our portfolio VaR model, right click and special paste. So it brings that data in. You can scroll down to the very bottom. We know that August wasn't any good, so you see August is sitting there. Since that's only 1 or 2 days of August, I'm going to delete that. And so now we have our allocation. And so before I run it, I've already run it, but I'm going to go ahead and put in here just a starting allocation. Let's just guess some numbers. Let's say 15% large cap, 15 small cap, 15 developed, 15 emerging, 25 fixed, and 15 high yield. So that adds up to 100%. You can see that allocation only explains 88% the volatility of this mutual fund. We can probably do better than that. What we want is the highest R squared possible, because we want to explain as much of the volatility or as much of the risk of this mutual fund as possible. So again, I go to Solver, and Solver is already set up. What we're going to do is maximize F6, which is the R squared, by again changing the allocation to the 6 asset classes, and we want to make sure it adds up to 100%. So it's already set up. We just click Solve and let it run. And then when the answer comes up, it converges. So we'll try it again, but you can see it's already at 100%, so we're already there. But we'll run it one more time to see if we can get found. And then you have it. And so what we're doing here is we're going to say, okay, I can explain 100% of the volatility of this fund. That's pretty good. I can really explain it. How I explain it is 48% in large cap stocks, 11% in small cap stocks, 41% in fixed income. Essentially, this is a 60% stock, 40% bond fund. You could go and look at the prospectus of this mutual fund and see if that's consistent with what you have. I'm then going to compare this to my recommended asset allocation. If I go back to the Efficient Frontier output and look at my recommended fund, I'm recommending a very large allocation to small cap, a 5% allocation to emerging markets, 45% to fixed, and 10% to high yield. It's very, very, very different than the allocation that explains this mutual fund. So essentially what I will say is this mutual fund that my client comes to me with is not appropriate for the allocation I'm recommending, and therefore I would not recommend this mutual fund. Make sure you realize you do not have to go out and find a mutual fund that comes close to your recommended allocation. That would take way too long, and you probably won't find one that actually does that. So all we're doing here is I want to expose you to this concept of style analysis. It's a very exciting way to assess the risk that a fund is taking. You know exactly what they're doing. What's most interesting to me is when this allocation is actually very different than what the mutual fund says they're doing. So you can say, hey, what you're saying you're doing is very different than the risk that you've taken historically, so something's going on. So interesting approach. Just make sure you pick a different mutual fund than I have here, and then make sure you realize you only have to do it once. You only have to find one mutual fund, and you can pretty much just say, most of you will be saying this mutual fund is not appropriate because its allocation does not match the allocation I'm recommending.